Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and my two co-hosts, Mark Honf and Nam Fon, are off today, but I do have a special guest I'll introduce in just a minute here. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during this show. That certificate's not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. And those certificates are worth over $100, so you definitely want to participate in the trivia contest. Today's trivia theme is miscellaneous trivia. Our special guest today is Pete VanderVeen of Triumph Performance Academy, and he'll be discussing with us leadership, team building, and scaling and optimization of real estate. Pete, welcome to The Best of Investing.
Thank you, Edward. It's great to be here.
Very good. It's great to having you. Now, first of all, I noticed that when I got in touch with you, it was an 808 area code, and that usually means Hawaii. Now, are you actually in Hawaii?
I always joke that I live vicariously through my old address. So now I live in northern Scottsdale, but I still run the number.
Okay. Because whenever I see that number, an 808 area code, I just kind of think about the trade winds and the beaches and all that. So how did you? So what? You used to live in Hawaii, and then you shifted over to Scottsdale?
Yeah, I did. I had actually lived in Hawaii for a while. I built a fitness company there, and then we transitioned to Phoenix. Strategically, we had a few partnerships here, which is what brought us to the Valley. And ever since, we were like, well, we're not going back. So Hawaii is a great place to live. It's a terrible place to work.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I think you're always probably looking outside and going, I want to be on those waves.
No one wants to work in Hawaii.
Yeah. I mean, why would you? All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Well, I've got a pretty extensive background. Triumph Performance Academy is really a product of many years of executive leadership. I've founded over a dozen companies of my own. I used to run a Fortune 5 company, optimizing production and management across around a $12 billion P&L in 6 countries. So what I did is when I left that position, I really had a hunger to really help and provide optimization for executives, for leaders, for companies, utilizing what I've learned over the years, but helping people do things in a more holistically sound and more successful way, where we're all getting the most bang for our buck, but we're really creating cultures of empowerment and helping people live a great life while they strive for success. Because I've seen the other side of the coin where corporate America drives performance at a cost, and it's really at a cost to the individuals. So to me, that's not success. If I want to achieve a quarterly goal and I run my people into the ground, well, then what did I win? All I did is it was my benefit at their cost. And for me, Triumph Performance Academy is really creating a better approach where we can build individuals, we can build teams, we can build companies while finding success. And I mean like living your best life success rather than exhausting your life to try to achieve some type of corporate success.
Yeah, especially when people work too hard, the production actually goes down. The quality and mistakes and all that, it's better for them to just figure out exactly, what really works for them, and you got to have a job that you really enjoy. I mean, I look forward to Mondays. I actually do. I love working. And it's like my assistant who's been with me for 30 years. She just loves doing what she does, and then, pays okay. Yeah. Because money is only going to be so much of a motivator. But now what you're doing is different than life coaching. I mean, it sounds like you're more working with the businesses, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not. I find life coaching makes me think of a yoga instructor and some tofu. Yeah. And for me, I see myself as a business executive like that had that Fortune 5 position. And now it's like I just want to come and bring my knowledge and expertise and also my school of hard knocks learning to the next person. It's like I want to go and be there for the next person because I wish someone had been there for me along the way. So I really feel like I'm just trying to help the next person become ultra successful.
Now, did I hear you correctly? Because you actually said this twice. Fortune 5 company, not Fortune 500.
No, five, Fortune 5,
So the top 5 companies in the Fortune
the
500
US.
would be
Yeah,
the big boys. Wow. Okay, because it's funny.
yeah.
I've heard of Fortune 100, but I hadn't heard Fortune 5 before. And so you actually did work with those companies?
Yeah, I was running operations. So I was kind of head of the management for division for a Fortune 5 company. So I was spanning the Western Hemisphere. I had over 1,000 reports, and then my P&L was around 12 billion annually for our operating budget. So we had significant, obviously it was a massive scale. We had a massive optimization, and we had a massive ability to transform culture and transform. We drove a 300% improvement in the productivity of this company. So we're talking, big numbers.
Oh yeah, for a Fortune 5 company, you increase their income, that's going to be substantial, obviously. Tell you what, we are
Yeah.
going to cut to our first commercial break here. And now this question, I'm not sure if you're going to know, only specifically because our show airs primarily in the San Francisco Bay Area, although people from around the country might tune in, but mostly we're going to have the Bay Area and a little bit more external California. All right, so here's our first trivia question. What is the longest bridge in the San Francisco Bay Area? All right, first caller with the correct answer is going to win the tanning certificate. Call 888-912-1190 and answer this question. What is the longest bridge in the San Francisco Bay Area? That's our trivia question. When we come back, we are going to continue on with Pete VanderVeen because he's going to talk about operations, change management, scaling and optimization of real estate, team building, and leadership. Ought to be very interesting. So don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Pete VanderVeen. By the way, Pete, VanderVeen, that's a very interesting name. What's the background, the nationality?
Yeah. So my family's Dutch.
Dutch. I was gonna guess that ahead of time, but
Yeah.
I figured now I'll let you tell me. Okay. Here was our first trivia question. What is the longest bridge in the San Francisco Bay Area? You have any idea? You can answer if you know the answer or
Oh,
take a
I
guess
thought
at.
I was going to say, isn't that the San Francisco Bridge?
The Bay Bridge? Actually, no.
The
It's
Bay
actually
Bridge.
no. It's the San Mateo Hayward Bridge. So a lot of people just call it
Oh,
the San Mateo Bridge. Yeah, I didn't know that was the
yeah.
longest. I would have thought it would have been the Bay Bridge too, but that's all right.
Yeah.
All right. So Pete, some topics you wanted to cover. I'm kind of interesting about here where you say change management. What did you mean by that?
So when I think of change management, what I'm always focusing on is really applying what's considered like continuous improvement culture into a corporation. So it's kind of at its core, you're doing root cause analysis, and then you're applying kind of a limit or redesign process, which ultimately the way I transform the Fortune 5 company, the way I've transformed real estate companies is I'm constantly looking for limiters to success, things that are adhering our forward momentum. So it's like, where are we stuck? What are we stuck on? How do we fix it? How do we fix it properly? Utilizing our knowledge of the root cause, because too many corporations make band-aid solutions. They try to find an easy way out. They're trying to avoid the real problem. And for me, it's like when we address the root cause and we put a practical, tangible solution in place, we can get out of that pit and we can get back on the lap and keep making laps, obviously to win the Daytona or whatever we're doing. But it's like if we address the problem, put a good solution in place, that's what continuous improvement culture is really based on, is sound logical analysis and then practical solutions.
How often do you get some pushback from the higher ups when you give your recommendations? Or they usually
It
implement?
happened a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens a lot. But I think, and obviously in this Fortune 5 company, I was dealing with hundreds, if not thousands, of executives and then you're dealing with shareholders. So it's more than just coming in with a one size fits all solution. It's
Sure.
really, you really have to sell the vision. You have to sell the picture. You have to sell the entirety of it all. And if you can show cost benefit analysis, if you can show projections, if you can show performance, you really have to do a good job of of painting a picture so that people can see the vision, they can buy into your vision, and they can buy into your solutions. And I think that's where that's where having great relationships and getting people to know, like, and trust you, and to show people that they can trust you. And then
Yeah.
that's when you start to take the log jam out of the river and things start to flow. But it's part of it's really a marketing endeavor. You have to really sell your message to the stakeholders on the team.
Yeah, and I got to think that with those kind of large numbers of employees, you're probably not going to be even talking about any kind of specific employee. It's more of a cultural thing or procedural, like chain of command. That's sort of kind of keeping it somewhat generic, right?
Yeah, certainly. And I think I was very strategic. My approach is always like, I like to influence the people that are ones making the decision. And then I'm also trying to influence the people that are going to be the ones that are going to provide potentially some resistance. And my always approach is, instead of walking into a boardroom and trying to face 30 people or 300 people at once, I'm going to want to preface that situation by talking to each one individually and addressing their concerns before they come up. And then when it comes to decision-making time, you've already got uniformity and you've already got buy-in from the group, from the mass. And that's what makes these things really successful, is because if you get one objection, suddenly you get 2 and 10 and 20, and you get this kind of, everyone's kind of dogpiling the objection. Whereas if you've already got everyone's buy-in individually, you've shown them that they can know, like, and trust you. You've also shown them that you care about their opinion. And then lastly, it's like, I've already got their objections, and I've basically took the wind out of their sails, addressed their concerns, and now I use that as more ammo to continue to gain momentum.
Okay. And we're going to cut to a break here in just a minute. When we come back, I know a lot of our audience is interested in real estate, so I want to hear how you've been dealing with that. How do you charge for your services? Is it project-based?
Yeah, at this point, I'm doing a lot of freelance stuff. So yeah, I do a lot of one-on-one stuff. So I'm working with senior C-suite executives, helping empower them so that they can turn around and run their company. So I'm giving them strategic advice. Or I work with teams or corporations on a larger scale. So everything's tailored to the need.
Okay. And before we get to our break also, give out your information in case we have some executives out there who can use your services.
Yeah, so anyone can find me on LinkedIn. I'm an easy find on LinkedIn, Pete VanderVeen. And then I've got my website, triumphperformanceacademy.com. And then I've also got my cell number, 808-276-0017. All
right, very good. And again, when we come back, I do want to hear some advice about what you, besides the real estate, about team building. Because that's always kind of a neat thing. We were just talking about that Pacific Private Money, how we needed to have a little bit more meetings from the standpoint of keeping everyone engaged. Because a lot of times information gets from one person to another, and other people are kind of going, oh, wait a minute, you know what? I needed to hear that. So I want to get your advice.
Yeah.
All right. Our second trivia question, we're going to bounce all over the place. We had a question about a bridge. The next question is a sports question. And the last question is more of a history question. So it's definitely miscellaneous trivia on this one. All right, second trivia question. With what team did Dennis Rodman win his first NBA title? I think they used to call him the Worm. Not sure why, but call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate, which again is worth over $100. Let's try this again. With what team did Dennis Rodman win his first NBA title? And love him or hate him, but he was definitely one of the best rebounders of all time. All right, that's our trivia question, 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate. You got to stay with us. We're going to be right back with Pete VanderVeen, and he's got some really good stuff to share with us. Don't touch that dial.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Best of Investing one more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host. My two co-hosts, Mark Humph and Nam Phan, are off today. They're working hard. That's why they couldn't come on to the show. But we do have our special guest, Pete VanderVeen. But our second trivia question was, with what team did Dennis Rodman win his first NBA title? Pete, do you know the answer?
I'm going to say it's Pistons.
That's right. It was the Detroit Pistons. Like, I think a lot of people sort of forgot about that. They kept thinking about him with Michael Jordan on the Bulls, but yep, Detroit
Yeah.
Pistons. That's when they were the bad boys. All right.
Yeah.
So Pete, let's get into a couple of these other things. So scaling and optimization of real estate, and then we'll get into the team building. What do you mean by that? The scaling and optimization of real estate. How do you help investors or companies with that?
Well, I think part of it is it's there again. It's my propensity to look for the problems because I like to provide solutions. And I think real estate in general is, I'm, I would say majority of real estate people come from kind of a silo culture, whereas like a lot of realtors, they work individually. It's not so much a team sport as it is an individual sport.
That's
So
true.
I think a lot of real estate teams typically don't have a great like communication and collaboration culture. So
Hmm.
because we work individually, we don't thrive in team settings and we don't optimize in team settings. So in order to scale a company, we really need to create a great foundation. Obviously, real estate needs a good foundation to build the structure upon. And I think a lot of companies, if you've started the company and you're just a lone wolf, you're going to have trouble scaling because you're only one person. You can only do so many things. But in
Yeah.
order to scale effectively, we need a sound foundation, which means we need good, sound business principles. We need good operating systems. We need sound, principles, policies, procedures. We need ways of having a hierarchy, distinguishing communication, chains of command. All those types of things are critical to start scaling because when you scale, you're in washer and repeat mode. You're in copy paste mode. You got to be ready so that when you build the structure up, it doesn't fall over.
It's interesting. I know a couple of realtor teams where two women basically got together and decided, I don't know exactly behind the scenes how they split their commissions, but they cover for one another. So I guess it's the same sort of thing. As long as one's not taking advantage of the other, then, 1 + 1 = 5 instead of, you're, like you said, you get if you're too compartmentalized by yourself, you can only do so much.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So get into the team building. I'm kind of interested in hearing about that. How do you do your team building?
But well, I think I'm a believer in like the US principles, so I think they have a lot of things that I adhere to. But I think when it comes to team building, you certainly need to have. I'm always a fan of having people with the charisma and the attitude. We can teach knowledge, but you can't teach attitude. So if someone doesn't have a good fit, that's
It's true.
definitely a deal breaker. And I think secondary to that is you definitely you definitely want to make sure that you cover your bases so that you've got people that are in the right seats in the right bus. You got people that really know it, want it, and get it, so they know what their roles are. They want to do it, they want to perform, and they're going to show up and they're going to deliver. But it's also I'm a big believer in collaboration, which is like kind of a reciprocity culture where you work. My job is to not come to work and make sure that I'm taking care of them. My job is to come to work and make sure that you, as my coworker, that I'm supporting you to make you the best version of yourself, most successful version of yourself, so that my job is to come and give out of abundance rather than coming to work and come out of a place of scarcity.
I like that. And we have a little bit of time. Move on to the leadership part. Because that said, to me, being a servant leader is kind of the best thing.
Yeah.
I just could cut you off for a little bit here, but I remember even when I was CEO of a real estate hard money loan company, you know what? To me, you throw the ego aside, and so there were times we had to close deals, and everybody had to work through lunch, and what they were doing was something I didn't have the talent for. So I basically just said, "Hey, I'm the errand boy. What do you guys want for lunch?" And it didn't matter what
Yeah.
you were in the company. And I think that really helps because, like at Pacific Private Money, I think the CEO is the hardest working person. And I
Right.
think it really helps when other people see that he doesn't just sit back with his feet on the desk smoking cigars, waiting to just cash checks. He's in the, right in the trenches, and everyone can see that
Mhm.
he works much harder and not that everybody doesn't work hard, I think everyone can
Yeah.
see that he really works hard, and that fosters a good I think it fosters a good, healthy relationship for hard work.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I do a lot of these days is providing leadership, advising, and mentoring. And to me, I hear executives come to me all the time, and they're like, "How do I scale my business? How do I optimize? How do I grow? And how do I provide better leadership?" And for me, the number one thing is authenticity. If you as a leader want people to follow you into battle, then you better make sure that you're someone that is worthy of following you into battle, which means
Yeah.
as a leader, like you said, servant leadership, but being the authentic, inspirational version so that someone's like, I love that guy. I'm going to do whatever. I got that guy's back. My boss has my back. But I think a lot of bosses, they take this carrot or the stick, or they're like, they have this dictatorial role. And it's like a boss should be the one that looks to be the rising tide in the harbor, to raise all the ships, to be the person that's like, listen, here's our endeavor, but if you have my back, I got your back. Let's go do this together. But to me as a leader, I thrive when I make sure that all my reports are successful.
Excellent. Okay, going to cut to our third trivia question here. Who was the primary author of the Declaration of Independence? All right. Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate. Who was the primary author of the Declaration of Independence? All right, stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing with Edward Brown and special guest, Pete VanderVeen. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back.
Sure.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. Edward Brown, along with special guest, Pete VanderVeen. All right, our third trivia question. Who was the primary author of the Declaration of Independence?
I'm going to say Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson. Holy smokes, you went 2 out of 3. And the only reason you didn't get the other one is because you're out of town. And that's perfectly acceptable.
That's right.
Okay. So before we cut the break, we were talking about servant leadership, and then it reminded me that, and I've said this before in the air, but I've been a landlord, and when I looked at the tenants, rather than it being me, like a one up, one down, me over them, I almost looked at it the opposite, because I looked at it and I said, you know what, you guys thank you very much for paying your rent, because you're paying my mortgage. What can I do to serve you? Within limits, right? But hey, your water heater broke, boom, let's get right on that. You pay rent in order to get a habitable place to live. And, I think most people are going to be pretty thankful, when they get that. So when you've worked for Fortune 5 companies, you must be good. So I'd say, yeah, okay. So, but you're doing some freelance now. How big is your team? Is it just you, or do you have other people underneath you?
No, it's just me.
Just you. Okay. Give out your information one more time.
So I'm on LinkedIn, Pete VanderVeen, and then my website is triumphperformanceacademy.com. My phone number is 808-276-0017.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's too many Pete VanderVeens. There might be a few, but not too many of them on LinkedIn. No. It's probably, and it's
no, there's not.
Okay, very good. And again, the name of your company is called Triumph Performance Academy, right?
That's right. Okay. Yes, sir.
Very good. And so now I want to move over to telling the audience a little bit about Pacific Private Money. So Pacific Private Money has 4 different funds. And what's amazing is one of the funds, specifically the one called the Freedom Fund, raises money to lend to primarily for bridge loans. But the best part of it is they take the loans and then they package them and they sell them off to the big boys. I say Wall Street, but it's not necessarily Wall Street, but it's the big boys. And the Fortune 5 companies in the real estate lending business, right? And so the money comes back every roughly 2 to 3 weeks. These sales happen, and so Pacific Private Money gets the money back, puts it on the conveyor belt, and sends it off again, because they have much more demand for their product, the loans, than they have money. So they're constantly going through this cycle of loans. And the best part about it as an investor is the minimum investment is $250,000, so it's pretty pricey, and you do have to be an accredited investor. But for $250,000, they're going to pay you 7%. At $500,000, they're going to pay you 8%. and at a million or more, they'll pay 9%. The best part about it is not only does your principal just stay the same, but it's similar to a money market account in that it's fairly liquid. Now you can't write checks on it and you can't get your money back in one day, but if you can allow up to 30 days, they'll give you your money back within that 30-day period. And I've experienced that myself, where I've lent them money, or I've invested in the fund, and for whatever reason I needed money back, and I've gotten the money back usually within about 2 weeks. And I've actually heard of clients who have gotten their money back in about 3 days, and mostly because when they did one of their trades, they just happened to get the money back at that time, and before they put it out for new loans, they ask, has anybody requested their money back? If they have, you do that first. Anything that's left over, just go ahead, put it on the conveyor belt and do it again. So, I don't know any other alternative investment out there with this kind of liquidity that's paying this high rate of return with this little risk. I mean, it's kind of like the best of all worlds: low risk, high return, and liquidity. I mean, that should be their motto, really. Yeah. And then they also, one of the other funds is one where I'm actually one of the managers. Minimum investment's only 50,000, and we just pay a flat 7.5%. And you still have to be an accredited investor. But what we're doing with that money is we are buying discounted mortgages, primarily in the state of Texas, but we can go elsewhere. And the best part about that, I think, is the loan to value on the amount that is the loan divided by the value of the property is only about 44%, but we're buying them at a discount. So it's even lower. The average is about 29%. So, that's a pretty conservative investment when you look at making a loan and saying, wait a minute, if a property is worth $100,000 and we're only into it for, and the loan is 44,000, but we're only into it for 29,000. We're not too risky on that. In fact, what's happened is sometimes when there's a foreclosure, and it's not that often, but when it happens, we actually make money. So you try to keep people in their houses, but every once in a while, certain people will just decide not to pay, and so we've not had any losses, and the fund has about 85 loans roughly in it, and it's been going on. It's only about a 2-year-old fund. But we have had some foreclosures, and we've just been successful at it. So the whole idea, and I told this to people, is don't lose money, right? I mean, if you think about it, if you have $100,000 and you're in the stock market, let's say, and you lose 20,000, that's 20%. With the remaining 80,000, now you got to make 25% on your money, get back up to 100,000 just to break even, right? And that just breaks you even. That doesn't even get you ahead. So
right.
Anyway, so the whole idea again is to be as conservative as possible. And the reason people need our loans is because we can work quickly. On the discounted mortgages, they're selling because these people carried back a mortgage or from selling their house, and they need cash. So we offer what we think is fair, and they'll either take it or leave it. And then on the ones that were originating the notes, if somebody owns a house, but they want to buy a new house, the bank usually won't lend them money because they probably owe a little bit of money on the first house. So what we'll do is we'll lend them money. Will be a first mortgage on the target house, and we'll cross-collateralize it and be a second mortgage on the current house if there's enough equity. Sometimes they own their house outright, but their income isn't high enough to qualify for a brand new loan. So we've had situations like that. And again, what we do is we go ahead and make the loan. And when they sell their first house, that's when they pay us off. So it worked out. It's worked out very, very well. And interestingly enough, business has actually picked up because the pool of money has gotten smaller. There are a lot of real estate mortgage companies, lending companies, that have laid people off because the refinance market has dried up considerably because interest rates went up. And even though some people have canceled their purchase contracts, that proportion has been a lot smaller than the number of lenders out there who are willing to lend. So, we're not taking any, undue risks, I guess you'd call it. We've lowered our loan to value just because we know that, there's a little bit more risk when rates are higher, and real estate prices might drop. So anyway, for more information, contact pacificprivatemoney.com. Their number is 415-883-2150. And you can give them a call if you want to be an investor or if you need money. All right, stay with us. The Best of Investing will be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Pete VanderVeen. Pete, how did you get into this business of giving advice to Fortune 5 companies?
I think it comes down to that I just get a real satisfaction out of helping people. That's how I've always led my company, where I sought to make other people, obviously, when I saw that I had 1,000 reports, I realized the power those 1,000 people had on my success. And if I made them more successful, they were only going to help me become more successful. So to me,
Gotcha.
I'm always looking at how can I serve other people, because I know it'll come back multiple fold. And I think for me, I think growing up, a lot of times I had times where, like, I've had a few real estate companies that I had one that I lost $4 million on because I had a 60-acre subdivision that I was building, and I bootstrapped the whole thing myself. And no one wanted to participate, no one wanted to help me. So I was like, well, I'll do it myself. Well, one day I realized how bad exposure is on bare land development and entitlement. And so I learned the hard way. But looking back, I'm like, I wish I had someone that was willing to walk alongside me and help me find success and give me those tips and tricks. And now I just have a passion to, like, find the people, find executives, and find corporations that's like, hey, let me give you some success nuggets of information that you can go and thrive with. But because I hate to see people do things the wrong way and then wonder why everything's falling apart. Whereas, like, if I can say, hey, like, I've been there, I've done that, let me show you the right way. It's kind of that special teams coach where you're looking down on the field. You're just trying to make sure that we win the game or that they win the game. And I was just able to help be influential in that.
Gotcha. Well, thanks again, Pete. Hey, I did want to make a mention here. So Amazon is being sued in California for antitrust because there's something to do with them, the way that they're doing their pricing, and they're kind of, quote, forcing other companies to have not a lower price, to make sure that they have higher prices than Amazon, that kind of
right
going on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was reading, and again, I read this today, and I don't know not much about it, but it looked like the state was going to try to get the proceeds if they're successful in the lawsuit, the state of California. So it's like,
Wow.
it's like, wait a minute, wouldn't you give that money either to the consumers, which would be hard to do, or to the companies that are being forced to raise their prices, on their other sites? I don't know why California would get the benefit of this at all, except for to help pay for the attorneys to bring the lawsuit. But, if you think
Right.
about it, and Amazon was quoted in the paper, and it's kind of true that if suddenly you take this advantage away, what's going to end up happening is the consumers are going to just end up paying higher prices, because Amazon's going to not be able to control that price. And then suddenly all these other companies that are trying to sell on Amazon, they go, great, we don't have to worry about, Amazon undercutting us. And guess what? Prices are going to go up and consumers get hurt. So lovely California does it again, Now, this suit happened also in Washington, D.C., and it was defeated. And so for some reason, California, or the attorney general, whoever, decided, well, let's bring in California. Let's see if we can get a judge here who'll, change things. But I kind of get the gist of it, especially if Amazon's got its own, like, proprietary type of product versus just allowing it to be a platform for other people to sell on it. I do kind of get that. But anytime the government kind of steps in, it always seems to not be best for the consumers. What did Reagan say? The little 9 worst words are, I'm here from the government, I'm here to help you, or something along those lines, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Pete, are you ready for our thoughts for the day? Here we go.
I'd love it.
What do you call a detective who just solves cases accidentally? You call him Sherlock Holmes. And
Good.
And this one, now this is not a pun, but this is a good one here. The first to apologize is the bravest. The first to forgive is the strongest. The first to forget is the happiest. I thought that was pretty good.
That's true.
I like that.
That's
All right.
real good.
Tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.